Good evening. I am Pavlo Kazarin. This is here at UA1. We will show you absolutely everything. The events that will take place at Олімпійський stadium, because there from 19 till 20 there will be the meeting between the candidates to the presidential position. Today we will also be telling you about what will be happening with the Верховна Рада, because the Speaker of the Parliament, Андрій Парубій, will be here, with whom we will discuss many different issues. We'll discuss whether there might be early parliamentary elections and what will happen with such draft laws as the law on the languages or the law on impeachment of the President. At 21 we will have the debates according to the law. They will last for an hour. My colleague Miroslava Barchuk will be moderating them, and after that we will start the countdown in this studio. I hope that the candidates who will be here will stay for the countdown. We have the preliminary agreements with Petro Poroshenko's headquarters, but we've heard from Zelensky's headquarters that they don't want to participate in mandatory debates, but still they have 2 hours to change their opinion. By the way, we have our correspondents at Олімпійський stadium. They work in the sector of supporters of Petro Poroshenko, in the sector of supporters of Zelensky. We also have our correspondents, and we hope to hear from them about the atmosphere at the stadium. I would like to remind you that according to the Ministry of the Interior, approximately 10,000 law enforcement are involved into supporting, maintaining the order at Олімпійський stadium. Also, there might be approximately 90,000 of fans at the stadium. Now they say there are approximately 50,000 Ukrainian voters who are at the Олімпійський stadium. Very soon we will be able to check which figures are the final. And I again would like to say we're waiting for the communication with our correspondents who are at the stadium. There were many discussions around the debates, and these debates, in fact, are provided for by the law before the first round of elections, but the candidates can select, can choose whether to participate or not. But unfortunately, they decide that by themselves, and we just hope that they will be here in the studio during these debates. The experts or the moderators cannot ask questions to the candidates. The candidates have to ask questions to each other. But during the countdown, which will start at 22:20, the experts will ask questions to the candidates who will stay here. I would like to remind you that you can watch us on our YouTube channel. There's a website which broadcasts everything live. We will be working for 5 hours for you today. If you have any questions, we hope that we will have get answers to them. The first debates in our country took place in 1994 before the second tour of presidential elections. These were Leonid Kravchuk and Leonid Kuchma, who met in 2004. There were also debates. We'll talk about them immediately after we talk to our correspondent Taras Sebastianovich, who is in the sector of the supporters of Petro Poroshenko. What do you see there? What's happening there, Taras? Now you can see how Petro Poroshenko has already come to the stage. He has recently greeted his fan sector. Now he's ready, as I understand, to the discussion On the opposite stage, we don't see Volodymyr Zelensky. People continue to come here. They have different symbols. In most cases, patriotic Ukrainian symbols, flags of Ukraine. People were not allowed to enter the stadium with any promotion, political symbols. Also, some people who arrived, they told that they came from different regions, Lviv region, Volyn region, Lugansk, also Donetsk. Now you can see how people are applauding, and they are waiting for the second candidate who has already come to the stage as well. That is all the information that we have, and we continue to work here. Thank you, Taras. That was our colleague Taras Sebastianovich, who's now working at Олімпійський stadium. We are waiting for our colleagues Alexei Goman and Viktor Ponomaryov, who also are working on the stadium. I would like to remind you, these debates are really international, talking about coverage, because 40 Ukrainian TV channels and 9 foreign channels asked us about the signal, about the broadcasting of the debates. More than that, I would like to remind you, and they tell me that at the stadium there's no segregation of the supporters of Poroshenko and Zelensky. The voters, the supporters who are ready to support different candidates, they are next to each other, but this does not lead to any fighting, and that's a great example, because first of all, we all understand that democracy is openness, and secondly, on the 22nd of April, we will all wake up in the same country, and we need to understand that next to us there are friends. Alexei Goban is there. Alexei, what's happening? How were there any problems at the stadium? Greetings. You can hear the anthem of Ukraine. All people stood up, and you see how many people are here to see the meeting between two candidates. There are still vacant seats, and there are big lines near the stadium. The sectors are not divided into the groups of supporters of Poroshenko Zelensky, but only the sectors at the field are divided. Back is to the back is the stage of Volodymyr Zelensky, and the other side is the stage of Petro Poroshenko. And they tossed a coin now, who will be the first one to speak. There are many policemen there. We haven't seen any fights or anything, but the first part has started. The moderators came, and after the anthem we will hear and we will see the beginning of the debates. That was our colleague Alexei Goman, who's at the Олімпійський stadium. I would like to remind you that this will last for an hour, after which we'll be back to the studio, where the Speaker of the Верховна Рада, Андрій Парубій, will be, and we will discuss what happens to the Ukrainian parliament. The broadcasting will start any moment. I don't understand how many minutes we still have. It started, so we will not just keep you here. We'll be watching it, and then we will discuss it at the studio. The teams are meeting. The scenario is going to be violated, but I would like to remind you that we'll be watching it. public discussion of the candidates to the position of the President of Ukraine at Олімпійський stadium. Good evening to everyone. Mr. Poroshenko is approaching us. That's very interesting situation. Did we need 2 stages? No, we probably didn't need them. There's a question whether these words will be counted into the total amount of time. And what about people who came to Poroshenko? We are with you. Do you want me to be with you to go there? Attention, a small delay because of some technical issues. Microphones are needed. How are you? Let us applaud to people who were brought by buses. The President of Ukraine, Petro Poрошенko, historic moment. I greet you, Andriy, greetings, Olena, we are on the same stage. For so many years we've been working on one TV channel with Olena, and now we are working together here. Dear candidates, we are watched by the whole world. Some people are saying 150 channels are either broadcasting or shooting. So I would like to remind you, Mr. Zelensky and Mr. Poroshenko, you need to follow the timing. And 5 minutes of a speech. The first one is Volodymyr Zeleński. 5 minutes. Thank you. Greetings to everyone. 5 minutes. So, we have the stadium full. I feel myself to be a Vakarchuk. Thank you all, and applause to you. Thank you for support of Ukraine. Thank you so much. You know, the situation is very interesting. I would like to tell you, by the way, people are shouting aloud. The whole world is watching us. Please don't shout, because Ukraine is very fair and democratic Ukraine, and it's in fashion. You know, I am here at this stage. Could I have ever imagined that I, a simple guy from Kryvyi Rih, that I will be fighting for the chair of the president against the person who we elected the president of Ukraine back in 2014. And what's most interesting, I was voting for Mr. Poroshenko then, that's true, but I was mistaken. We were mistaken. I will tell you honestly, could we then imagine that his to live anew will mean for us to survive? Could we then imagine that I will finish war in 2 weeks, will become our Ilovaisk and Debaltseva? Could we then imagine that his getting people richer will become getting only his people richer? Could we then imagine that revolution of dignity will be used by the not decent people. I will explain to you why we were mistaken. Why was this big mistake committed? Don't shout, please. We're talking about the revolution of dignity and war. Let's applaud to our warriors. And what is the main mistake, I will tell you. We voted to one Poroshenko, but we elected a different one, because there are two Poroshenkos. The first one is a great speaker, specialist, financialist, economist. He knows everything. He usually is where the cameras are, and when the cameras are off, then there is another guy, Petro II. The first Petro Poroshenko at Mikhailovsky Square shouts, "Putin, I will show you." And the second one quietly says, give hi to Moscow via Medvedchuk. First says that in the payment for communals there will be minus, and the second one makes Rotterdam plus. The first says, I opened the school, and the second one opens Russian shops. The first one opens 12 kilometers of a new highway, and the second one closes the case of Nasirov. The first Petro Poroshenko says, I gave my business to blind trust, and the second one increases his assets by 82 times within 1 year. Tell me, please, maybe let us transfer the budget of Ukraine to blind trust. Maybe it works well. The first says dollar will be 10, and the second one makes dollar 30 hryvnias. That is why, Mr. Poroshenko, that is why I'm here with my team. I'm not a politician. I'm not a politician at all. I'm just a person, a simple person who came to break the system. I am the result, Petro Alexeyevich, of your mistakes and promises, and that's true, and you understand it. You remember, I would like to remind you of a moment when you invited me to Bankova Street. I came to Bankova and you said, Vova, and that's openly, you said, why don't you need it? This is very complicated, you will not see your children. Volodymyr, you have 30 seconds. You will not see your children, you will not see your wife. You will earn less, but one question, why do you all want to be there? 5 minutes, that's it. We will continue. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Zelensky. 5 minutes. 4 is teamed. If you interfere into the timing, this time will be distracted. No, okay. Petro Poroshenko, your 5 minutes. Good evening, Ukraine. Good evening. Олімпійський stadium. Finally, we managed to get together for the debates after long 3 weeks, after we've been waiting, when the team of my opponent becomes courageous enough to show up in front of the people of Ukraine. And it is very important that we have the position when Mr. Volodymyr is hiding from the journalists, when Volodymyr is hiding from the opponent, but the main thing is he's hiding from the people of Ukraine, because the right of the people of Ukraine is to know what exactly is the candidate to the president planning to do of the country that is in war, and what is he planning to do, but not the members of his staff, not his advisors, not his consultants. And we haven't learned yet, because for Ukrainian people, first of all, it is extremely important to know about the future, but not to pour dirt on each other, to know how to defeat the enemy, but not to disseminate Russian fakes. Today we have the Russian propaganda, which is working actively as part of hybrid war against our country. And today we finally managed to have it, and I congratulate you with that. I congratulate you with that, dear Ukrainians who are here at this stadium. This is a strange place for debates, but that is the decision I made. And we are here. We have the outside challenges, the challenges which require courage and strength from the president, which require international experience, how the candidate to the president is going to keep this international coalition which we have been building for 5 years. How is he planning to execute the functions of the commander-in-chief? Your team said that you started this course of the young warrior. That's a great thing, but you should have done it 4 years ago, in 2014, when the country needed the efforts of all the volunteers, and Volodymyr was hiding from the notices of recruitment. I am sure that this is something inadmissible. I would like to emphasize that once we don't have answer to this question, this is a weak head of the state, the weak who will not be able to oppose the Putin's attacks, weak, because what is threatening the country, the risks are too high. I believe that Volodymyr doesn't want to surrender Ukraine. I believe that Volodymyr doesn't want to take Ukraine back to Russian Empire, but Putin has these dreams, and if he doesn't know how to oppose it, today we have to take away all the risks from the Ukrainian future. I emphasize that today we have a very beautiful, bright, expensive packaging. And in this packaging, everyone can find whatever they want. One will find the reduction of tariffs, some the salaries of the teacher of $4,000. Others will find return to Russia, and some will find 15 seconds, and some will find very important movement to Europe. But Volodymyr, you said that you are a cat in the sack, and in your sack today there are many cats. 5 minutes are over. Mr. Poroshenko, 5 minutes are over. Esteemed Volodymyr, thank you.
Dear public, from this moment on, we start the countdown of those 36 minutes which we have for the discussion. Please do not approach so much to the moderator, can lose temper. But I am happy that more members of the second team appear just behind me. This proves that both opponents are ready to listen to each other. So now we will hear the questions from each candidate to the opponent, and you will have 4 minutes for the answer. So the first right to ask a question goes to Mr. Zelensky. So is the time on? Yeah. Mr. Poroshenko, a citizen of Ukraine, asks in internet, how does it appear that Ukraine is the richest country under the richest the poorest country under the richest president in the whole history, while those who were guilty in the ignition of the Russian store, they were found, while those who killed Pavlo Sherement are not found yet, while nobody is punished for Ilovaitseva. How can we survive with 5,000 hryvnia per month? How you dare to send 22 Marines to the Azov Sea via the stream, and how much you were, what a bribe you were paid from Rotterdam Plus, why the immunity of the members of parliament is not removed. Please, Petro Alexeyevich, choose any question out of that and answer to it. Dear Ukrainian people, today we observe the position of total incompetence. It is sufficient just to watch the press conference, my press conference, and Ukrainian TV channels. I answered almost all those questions. We have Ukrainian army, the generals, and even the supreme commander are guilty in the fact that Ukrainian people continue to die and they are killed at the front line. In opinion of Mr. Volodymyr, just the border was slightly moved with the participation of Russia. You should go to Debaltseve, you should go to frontline, you should speak to our servicemen from Ilovaisk, you should know what blood was paid to rescue Ukraine and to defend Ukraine. You won't ask these questions, and I have the answer, and Ukraine needs the answer. You are not for Ilovaisk, Putin, Russian army, and Russian aggression. These are the factors which almost destroyed our army, while volunteers, while Ukrainian servicemen, while their families, they revived Ukrainian army about fight against poverty. If you were to know what was the situation in Ukraine when I took position in 2014 with zero money on our treasury accounts, without army, without any golden reserve, we had nothing actually, while at that time you tried to offend Ukraine, while you were mocking Ukraine at Ukraine, while you were getting Russian money for your projects, for shooting your movies when Ukraine was in need of any monetary help, of any physical help. We, Ukrainians, we saved this Crimea. We, Ukrainians, had preserved and created the support of the international solidarity to support Ukraine. We, Ukraine, we made a breakthrough to the European Union. We, Ukrainians, we protected those markets which were lost in Russia and gained new markets in other countries, including the European Union. And today, I would like to underscore that I am pleased to see how international leaders, international organizations had recognized that during last 5 years, Ukraine had made more than Ukraine had achieved during previous 25 years. Where you were at that time, you got money from the budget, from Russian budget, you were mocking at Ukraine. Dear friends, it's not my role to ask these questions to you. This is the function of Ukrainian people to ask you the same question. The time is over, 4 minutes are over. And now, attention please, attention. The question from Petro Poroshenko to Volodymyr Zeleński. You have 1 minute to ask. Attention please, please keep quiet. Unfortunately, we cannot hear without microphone. Mr. Poroshenko, your question. I'm asking a question to Mr. Zelensky. Mr. Volodymyr, today, when we discuss the post of the president, the biggest risks to our state is incompetency, and you emphasized that you are going to learn much, and you made a statement that you still have time. Just imagine that you try to board a plane where a pilot states that he would like to learn in the flight. So incompetence in those cases could not be allowed. Why the president should allow himself such incompetence? Please do not mock at our country. People should make responsible choice. Please make responsible choice. Thank you very much. You have 4 minutes. First of all, I would like to use these 4 minutes. I am not your opponent. I am your sentence about my attempts to hide. Many times I attended the front line. I had many series of shootings at the front line. Why those people from the military agency could not find me and show a summons for me. About Putin, never in my life I spoke to Putin. And I know how many times you spoke to Mr. Putin via telephone call or via Mr. Medvedchuk, beginning with 2014. I've not been to Russia since the war had started. It was a lie. And about the commander-in-chief, Mr. Poroshenko, now we have a war, and you are asking me the questions which you should answer. Why the war, this war is not over now, by now. This was your role of the commander-in-chief. You reserved some minutes from your time.
Now the question from Mr. Zelensky. Just one argument. about the cat and sack. About the cat and sack. That's what you said, that I'm the cat and sack, or I am a sack. I believe it's better to be a cat in the sack than a wolf in the skin of a sheep. Now the question from Volodymyr Zelensky. May I continue? I have a question from people. Why all your people have two hands? Why you took some guy by a nose? The patriots are in prisons because are they a threat for you? Do you remember such word as lustration? What's happening with the company, with why people can buy your sweets in the shops of Moscow? Is it true that Russian sweets are in the food packages of the LNR and the DPR? Why Gontareva is in London? Please select one of them. 4 minutes for answer. Friends, I can answer this question in 20 seconds. Absolutely everything that Volodymyr says is a lie and doesn't correspond to the reality. But to some questions, I want to give an answer in more detail. For example, on cutting off hands. First, I am not a torturer, I am not a judge. The president creates necessary conditions for fair justice, and that means creating the investigatory bodies for the fair investigation, and I have been doing everything that depends on me. The question you asked about hands and friends, I can emphasize it. Not a single one of my friends will ever have had anything to do with corruption, because as soon as there's any substantiated suspicion, this person stops being my friend and he will be put to prison, whether that's a friend or a partner, doesn't matter. These are the principles of democratic state. And then I have a question to Mr. Zelensky. Tell me, please, please listen from your permission. Tell me, please, when your partner, your business partner, who robbed off Ukraine, having substantiated suspicions of the law enforcement bodies of Ukraine and of the world, he exported 330 billion hryvnias and 162 billion hryvnias out of Privatbank, and he paid $41 million to you, to your secret offshore accounts. And are you shaking his hand? Will you cut off his hands? The answer is very simple. That is a bright packaging, and inside there are the allies of Azarov, the allies of Yanukovych. Inside there's the fifth column. Inside there are Russians and oligarchs who ran away. And it's strange, we don't have the results of the presidential elections, and they have risen their heads. And yesterday they came to get Privatbank Bank, and jointly We will not allow them to do that. And I will be waiting, Volodymyr, till when you cut off hands to yourself and your partners. Thank you. I would like to remind you that according to the rules, the saved seconds are not added later, but possibly this will allow you to ask some additional questions to each other. I don't understand. That was it the question? I'm ready to answer. Now a minute for the question from Petro Poroshenko. Unless he insists that what was in your speech. No, I'm ready. I'm ready. I want to answer. I believe that Volodymyr remembered the question, and these are the questions for long. That's the cross which he will have to carry along his life. And today I have a different question. Dear Volodymyr, I would like to understand, don't talk about the past. Everyone knows. You said nothing to anyone, and I'm always at press conferences, and everything's known about me. I would like to ask you about values, the values of democracy, and then when you ask the question that the president should be the torturer or should revive these KGB methods, we are now going into the European Union. Where do you see Ukraine in 5 years? Please tell me, and what you want to do for that. The time is over for questions now. You have 4 minutes, Mr. Zelensky. May I answer? Yes. Thank you for very complicated question. First, when you say, give us the answer, I am not at the prosecutors. I did nothing to be there, and for you, maybe we'll have to meet. What I would like to say, Ukraine chose the way to Europe, and that's the main thing. And Ukrainians paid high price, the lives of our people, lives of Ukrainians at Maidan. I'm not Moses, and you're not the prophet. We cannot lead Ukraine somewhere. Ukraine is going to Europe. And you, as the guarantor, have to defend the choice of Ukrainians. And myself, if I am, I will be defending the European choice of Ukrainians. Volodymyr, the question was asked. I didn't answer yet. A few words about what you are saying. Where I see Ukraine in 5 years, I said I go to one term. In 5 years there will be a different president, and I keep my fingers crossed that there are no more people who surround you now in politics. Talking about Mr. Kolomoisky, I will tell you immediately. All people who violate the law, all Svinarchuks, Gladkovskis, and if then there will be Kolomoisky, they will all be in prison. But they will be there not in 2 weeks. That's not just promises. It's up to Ukrainian court, but they will be there when they violate the law. Now, you said that I am a partner of Kolomoisky and how I will live with that. I would like to say to every Ukrainian, in Ukraine, it happens so. All TV channels are owned by oligarchs, all of them. Kolomoisky, Pinchuk, Firtash, Akhmetov. And dear Mr. President, I would like to remind you, you also invited me to work at Channel 5. You invited me to work at Channel 5, but I did not go there. Not because you are an oligarch and that's your channel. I am a free man and I did not go to you. So I believe that the president cannot be an oligarch. That's it. The president should be a person from people of Ukraine. Thank you.
This was response of Volodymyr Zelensky. Mr. Volodymyr, now it's the turn of your question to Petro Poroshenko. I have a minute for a question to Mr. Poroshenko. Petro Oleksiyevich, taking into account all the questions that I have asked you, now the main question, whether the previous people in power will brought to responsibility and will be persecuted, whether in this case you will say that this would be a political revenge or a political persecution. Mr. Poroshenko has 4 minutes for the answer. Dear friends, I am proud that Fifth Channel, the channel of honest and truthful news since 2004, 2003, maybe Mr. Zelensky does not know about that, but in the year 2004, the Orange Revolution started due to the freedom of speech, which was supported by the Fifth Channel and 1+1 TV channel, which had made very comfortable conditions now for Mr. Zelensky. Back in 2004, the channel +1+1 had to apologize to Ukrainian people for its wrong policy. Now my question, Mr. Zelensky, maybe in the future, both you and 1+1 TV channel will again make apologies to Ukrainian people for the dissemination of Russian fake news, for the dissemination of fake information. I would like you to learn now how this TV channel behaved back in 2004, in 2014, in 2013, and I would you to ask questions about the role of that TV channel during the Revolution of Dignity events. And I think that now this is a good time to ask for the apology from the journalists of Fifth TV channel. I mentioned 160 billion hryvnia which were withdrawn from Ukraine, whether we will be able to protect Ukraine and Ukrainian bank system from Mr. Kolomoisky. I mentioned that the criminal investigation about him does not prevent both you and his TV channel from free work in Ukraine. Volodymyr is a good artist. Volodymyr probably is a good person himself, but today he is not a cat in a sack, but this is just a good packaging which covers those who fled in 2014 and now wants to come back to Ukraine under this packaging. I'm showing this. Dear friends, we would not allow this. When Mr. Volodymyr mentioned that he may step out from the politics. At this time, millions of Ukrainians would stand for the future of Ukraine and will defend the achievements which we had reached during the last 5 years, and will defend Ukrainian land and would not allow neither cats nor devils in the packaging to ruin Ukraine. And you won't make this. I also will continue to defend Ukraine, either as a president or as a common person. Mr. President, Mr. Poroshenko, now you have 1 minute to ask a question to Mr. Zelensky. The first task for our country is to gain peace. We have to finish this war, and we should finish this war having ensured repeal to Russian aggressors, and we should not meet Mr. Putin at the knees. We should, and not in Kiev. It is the key to our victory. It is the peace could be gained based on the defense of Ukraine, defense of the nation, defense of the language. And now my question, when you called Ukraine the prostitute, when you mocked in Ukraine, when you when you mocked at Ukraine, you did not apologize. Once you offended Kadyrov, and you immediately apologized to him. So when you will apologize to Ukraine? First of all, about Kadyrov, I never communicated to him. About the knees, those words were taken from the phrase when the war had started, before the beginning of the war at the Maidan, and I appealed to each of the presidents, and I asked Yanukovych to leave the position of the president. And I continued in the same sentence and said to Putin that I am ready to stand on the knees, but not try to put Ukraine on the knees. That's true about the knees. To make it understandable to everybody, continues in Russian. Now I'm ready to stand on the knees in front of each mother who lost her son at the front line, and I am ready to stand on the knees at each child who lost her father. I'm ready to stand on the knees at each widow and invite you to do this. So now you see, Petro Oleksievich, it's not so difficult to be a human being. Volodymyr Alexandrovich, please continue. The time is going on. Now about the packaging. You mentioned that I'm a packaging. I understand that you are an expert in packaging, in all sorts of packaging. You called me the packaging, and I mentioned that you are professional in packaging. About Kolomoisky and business, I have a contract with 1+1 TV channel, and this is the most important. And you mentioned that I have other business with him. Quarter 95, and you and his representatives among your shareholders. Please speak to the microphones about your business, Mr. Poroshenko. As far as I know, you privatized the Karl Marx sweets factory and made Russian out of her. I don't remember when it happened, maybe in 1997 or from 1998. But since 1998, you used to be an MP. So would you please explain how did you become an oligarch during that time? Volodymyr Alexandrovich, you have 30 seconds. Thank you to everybody. I would like to thank my 30 seconds to thank all people, including our defenders. Dear colleagues, we have used 34 minutes out of 36 reserved for this part of the debate. And now, if the candidates wish, they may ask the last question to each other. Candidate Zelensky, I am ready. Candidate Poroshenko, yes. A short question with the answer yes or no. Are you ashamed? Attention, please.
The answer, no, because I'm proud of Ukraine. And these 5 years, you gave the answer. Now, candidate Poroshenko, your question. Volodymyr Alexandrovich. I have a very simple and short question. What will you do? Are you ready to do everything so that those who are your partners, Mr. Kolomoisky, his clique, the team of Azarov, the team of regionals, are cut off after the presidential elections, so that they have no access to state resources and state power? Are you ready to do that? Yes. I understand that the time for discussion between the candidates is over according to our program. Now each one of the candidates has 5 minutes for final word, and then final 30 seconds, probably the most important what you want to say, because Volodymyr Zelensky was the first one, so 5 minutes for Volodymyr Zelensky. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. That's true. I thank you so much. I would be happy to spend among you these 5 minutes. That is true. I want to say that Petro Alexeyevich had many achievements, that's true. Visa-free regime, Thomas, language, army, everything that you wrote on big boards. But you know, I believe that somehow all these achievements, you are just writing as your achievements. I don't understand why. That is your victory, I understand, but I believe that Ukrainian language was before you. As to visa-free regime, yes, that's the victory, but not just yours. The victory of Ukrainian diplomats, of Ukrainian community that was fighting for visa-free regime before you became the president of Ukraine. As to Thomas, that's the victory for Ukraine, but I believe that's the victory, first of all, of Filaret, who fought for Ukrainian church before you became the president. In the times when you were just in the Moscow Patriarchy Church, and the army. That is, first of all, the heroic deed of Ukrainian warriors, of Ukrainian volunteers, of Ukrainian people. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you very much. I believe that we will be able, thank you very much, yes, we will be able to break the system with normal people, with other mentality, with the mentality of the 21st century. And it's not about the fact that around you there were corruptionists. That doesn't matter. I can tell you, I'm just a person. You and these people took the most important thing from us, 5 years. You have 2 minutes more. 2 minutes more. Okay, the candidate will not use them. Let's do it together. Thank you. 5 minutes for candidate Poroshenko. Attention, attention. There are 5 minutes, I'm sorry. Esteemed Mr. Zelensky, I would like also to recognize that you are a talented actor, that you created a good producer company, and you created many interesting products, different but interesting. Today, we finally gave the chance to people to hear just a little bit of our discussion. And that is extremely important, that the discussion has started. I suggest to continue it now at the public broadcaster and at Suspільне TV. And let's ask the question to Ukraine, to those who are at the stadium. These are dozens and dozens of thousands of people. Do they have the right to know their future? Because today, besides some accusations, we have not heard anything from Volodymyr, nothing about strategy, nothing about the steps and directions, nothing about other issues, nothing about how we should defend the state. From your answers, we understand that you still live by the past. You are ready to disseminate only non-truth, that you are still continuing the line that you were trying to use at the channel of your partner, Mr. Kolomoisky, at 1+1 channel, the channel that gave you bodyguards, the channel that gave you equipment, legal support, everything, so that you had the opportunity to seize our country, our common position. We have to defend the state from you. You are not Goloborodka. You came here not by trolleybus, not by bicycle. You are the main leader of the oligarchs, and definitely one escaped oligarch. You have closed your declaration from 2018. What are you hiding from Ukrainian people? Why aren't you disclose and demonstrate the sources of your assets? Because there was no Kolomoisky behind Goloborodka with the demand to return Privatbank, with the demand to return Ukernafta. We haven't heard your strategy. I would like to address the supporters of Mr. Zelensky today. Dear friends, 21st of April, we need to look into the future And we need to think well how to preserve the country, how not to give away the country to Putin, to Kolomoisky's, so that they rob it off. Today, there's a big demand for a resurrection, renewal. That's what we need to do during the parliamentary elections. But you cannot play with the country during the presidential elections. The price could be too high. And the war with Russian aggressor cannot be waged by the actor, by a talented person, but without any experience. The price that will be paid by dozens of Ukrainians could be very, very high. And my dear voters, I thank you for being with us. I thank you for the support. Dear Ukrainian people, I want to emphasize that I will take any choice, I will accept any choice of Ukrainian people on the 21st, and on the 22nd the life will continue. On the 22nd we need to get united, to together defeat the country. The main thing is not to lose the country. Together to the victory of Ukraine, to our victory. And we have a great tradition to complete the, that's, okay, the time is over. Dear candidates, dear visitors, today's debate started from something unexpected, from this transfer which did not finish in unification, but these people are together. I would like the debates to have something unexpected in the end, because thanks to our candidates, we have saved some time, and we can give you not 30 seconds each, but 1 minute each. Is there support? Yes. So, the first comment. Volodymyr Zeleński, you have 1 minute. Thank you. Petro Alexeyevich wanted to see and hear our principles, the quality of all the law, the taking of the immunity of the members of parliament and the president, the law on impeachment. I have one, the medicine. As to reforms, tell me, if there are no quality medicines, if there are no normal conditions in the hospitals, if the doctors don't have normal salaries, what type of reform it is? Talking about roads, I don't have anything to say because there are no roads. And talking about war, we'll do everything to complete it. Thank you. Glory to Ukraine. The president has 1 minute. Friends, first, they don't see what was done in 5 years. They are trying to take it to some other direction. We have to get united to return Crimea to Ukraine. We have to get united to defend Ukrainian Donbass. We have to defend the country from populism and from Russian fakes. We together will not allow to restore oligarchy and return of oligarchs, escapists to Ukraine. We together will continue our movement forward because we know what and how to do. And our team, renewed team, will mandatory win. And I suggest to not to violate the tradition with which we complete our every public presentation. let's sing the Ukrainian anthem. Dear Ukrainians, dear candidates, the main debates of Ukraine are over. Dear Ukrainians, the borders were dividing us, the sectors, and the scene was dividing us. But we'll together go to the elections on the 21st of April, and this will be our choice. We're Ukrainians. Let God save us. Join the anthem. Those who are ready to hear each other, join the anthem. The anthem is being sung.
Друзі, ви все чули,
Dear
ви все
friends,
бачили.
you heard everything, you have
Президенти
seen
на
everything. It was a meeting between the candidates at the Olympic Stadium. Approximately in an hour, we will start official debate between the candidates in the studio, but our evening has just begun, so it's time to start the countdown. Good evening, everybody. I'm Miroslava Varchuk. This is the countdown on Suspільне TV. I'm Pavlo Kazarin, and the main discussion of this country is beginning now. You have seen the show in Olympic Stadium. This was not the national debate. It was just a form of propaganda, of campaigning of the candidate. The official debate between the candidates will start here on Suspільне TV channel at 9 p.m. We are waiting for the candidates, our guests, our experts, and all the spectators. We are on UA1 air, we are on the air of UA Cultura. Also, you are Krim TV channel, where you can see us with simultaneous translation into Ukrainian and Tatar language. I would like to thank to the brilliant audience which we have today. Тарас Шевченко, Гліб Вишлінський, Євген Глибовицький, Ольга Висоцька, Настасья Соколенко, Ярослав Юрчишин, Богдан Кибулацин, Дмитро Кривенко, Максим Яковлев, Данило Мокрик. I know all of you personally. I'm happy that you are here. In a moment we will start discussion of the events. I'm happy to welcome box checkers here, Олена Шкарпа and Maxim Shkubenko. They will check out the facts which we will hear today. I would like to ask you for a comment about what we have heard at the Olympic Stadium today. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on YouTube TV channel you may choose the simultaneous translation into English language. Besides that, you can hear us on Ukrainian radio. As Miroslava mentioned, that today we will witness official debate which we will start at 9 p.m. but
повинна бути зроблена, але ж у нас є дуже важливі теми для обговорення. Зрозуміло, що президентські перегони та посада президента – це дуже-дуже важливо, але ж в нашій країні існують інші інституції, на яких базується наша держава. Тож саме зараз час для того, щоб почути про саме їхнє майбутнє. І ми з задоволенням запрошуємо до цієї студії спікера Верховної Ради України Андрія Парубія.
The Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, Mr. Andriy Parubiy. Happy to see you, Mr. Parubiy. Welcome to the studio. As far as I know, you also watched the events on Олімпійський stadium. Could you share your impressions? As far as I know, before this event, you attended Mikhailivska Square when you participated in the event. Unfortunately, on my way here, I was unable to see all the fragments because of the internet disconnection, but what I understand clearly that after 3 weeks of waiting, of expectations, candidate Zeleński had come to the rostrum to speak in public, and the post-candidates had finally met. And you correctly mentioned that it was the action, good action, and official debate. This is the action which is clearly regulated by the law. And the law clearly says that the Central Election Commission has to set where the debates should happen, and the Central Election Commission has decided that the official debate should be here, and we would hear about the scope and the responsibilities of the president, because what I heard in the Olympic Stadium falls within the scope of the judiciary. I would like to hear about the future actions of the president as the commander-in-chief of Ukrainian army. I would like to hear about the international policy of each the candidate. This is extremely important. It is important to know the vision of each candidate. We are not just a country where the presidential campaign is in course. We are the country in war. On behalf of the entire Ukrainian society and on our experts, I encourage both candidates to attend the official national debate, which were prepared by Ukrainian team. By the way, I lost 2 bottles of cognac in a bet because I
свій програш. В мене є питання. Ви дуже правильно казали, що у кожного є своя сфера відповідальності. І ми чули напередодні виборів, що є різні сценарії того, що може трапитись з українським парламентом. Серед іншого, ми чули про можливість дострокових виборів. Чи можете ви прокоментувати, чи є якісь законодавчі підстави для того, щоб взагалі-то
whether there are any opportunity and possibility that the parliament may be dissolved immediately after presidential elections. Well, I have heard this assumption of the experts that when Zelensky becomes the president, they could immediately dissolve the parliament, just like Zelensky's team believes that you can call just to a judge and the suspect will be immediately brought to jail. That's funny, and Montesquieu meant this division of branches, divisions of powers, and the president in Ukraine may dissolve the parliament under three conditions. When after the parliamentary elections within 90 days, the coalition is not formed if the Verkhovna Rada has not worked within 30 days, and when the parliament cannot work within 90 days. So neither of those conditions is met in our case, and I would like to remind you.
I'd like to remind you that 6 months before the end of the term of this convocation, this cannot happen. There are no legal grounds. Political, maybe someone would have a desire. Someone would have a desire so that the Verkhovna Rada doesn't pass the language law or some security law. Someone would like to make a pressure on the Verkhovna Rada. But the Verkhovna Rada was passing very important laws, decommunization quotas, language quotas, and some issues about the EU and NATO amendments to the Constitution. And dissemination of the Verkhovna Rada is an outside scenario, because the Verkhovna Rada during the revolution, two revolutions, Orange Revolution and Revolution of Dignity, took the responsibility for the state. One of the scenarios which was discussed in the internet was someone asked the parliament if there is a coalition in the parliament, and if we cannot see the coalition that gives to the president with any name chance to disseminate the parliament. Is such scenario possible? This scenario was implemented, he started implementing this scenario. Derkach, the MP from the Upper Bloc, he wanted to find out whether there was a majority in the parliament. Some steps are made. I know that some steps are ready for early parliamentary elections. Can you tell me which ones? Some, we know which ones. They're getting ready. I will tell you. For me, as for the Speaker of the Verkhovna Rada, the main thing is working Parliament. They can say that despite the fact that many were saying that during the elections the Parliament will not be able to work, we passed very important laws, security laws, the strategy of environmental development of Ukraine, and we'll be passing the law on languages this Thursday. And the coalition, that's the question to coalition, but I know that among the powers of the president there's no function the function of finding out whether there is or there is no coalition. I would advise those great lawyers and the candidate to President Zelensky to read in detail what are the duties of the President of Ukraine, but who defines whether there is coalition or not, which gives ground announced to
навпаки
any
відмовитись від
president to
цієї ідеї.
disseminate the parliament. The coalition would announce about their dissemination. In the previous practice, coalition was saying the coalition is being disseminated and 30 days were given to form a new coalition. Then also there was another thing when 150 MPs resigned, but in all these cases there was a consensus between the President and the Верховна Рада as to early elections. But now there are no political or legal grounds for that. But I would like to remind you about the powers of the President. I'm sure that at 9 p.m. there will be both candidates and they will be able to answer key questions. Because with my work I have to examine all the laws and preconditions. It will be important to learn not just about early elections, but about the armament of the Ukrainian army, the defense against Russian aggression. Before this program we were talking about the rules of procedure. The rules of procedure are important because they define whether there are grounds to disseminate or not, but they influence one more very important for us thing, and that is the laws which were voted for but not signed. And my colleague Danila wanted to ask question. I understand that I have a mic but not Danila, so I will give him the chance to ask a question. Basically, this is that refers to many laws or draft laws which were voted for by the Верховна Рада. They were sent to the President for signature. According to the Constitution, the President has 15 days to sign or veto the law. Unfortunately, there are many draft laws which were not signed, not vetoed. One of them is the law on criminal
Запитання до президента зрозуміле.
deeds which is not signed nor vetoed. What did you as the speaker do so that these draft laws become laws or so that they are vetoed? That's a very good professional question. I will give a detailed answer. Unfortunately, this wasn't regulated. There's a clear term, 10 days after decision is made, and for the speaker and 15 days for the president. But the law drafter did not define what happens if the parliament vetoes, but then the law drafter didn't take it into account that we have this gap. There are not so many laws like that, about 7 of them. And in fact, every time I gave that list, some of them were signed and they were signed recently. On bankruptcy it was signed, and I work actively so that all these laws are signed. We do have this gap, and my friends would tell me, sign, but that doesn't become a law if I sign the law which was voted for. I believe that such powers are to be added to the speaker, and there should be such legislative initiative. This will make the role of the parliament stronger. Ольга Івазовська. Please tell, you mentioned the names of some lawyers like Andrei Portnoy, and we have some masters of equilibrium, of legal equilibrium, which this way or that way, via the Constitutional Court, returned us to the old Constitution and different powers according to which President Yanukovych was elected. Now, those who are present here, now the former Minister of Justice in Nazar's government, they're planning to return us back to the Constitution, to the old Constitution without this NATO and EU direction. Can you say, as the Speaker of the Верховна Рада, that there are no legal grounds for such return? And do you know about such plans? That is an important question. When we are talking about revanche, that sounds abstract. It's like we received the decision on the Privatbank, and many of the judges which were appointed by the previous system are still there. And basically, I know that there are many plans on the key decisions passed by the Верховна Рада of Ukraine. You know that even the decision of the Верховна Рада to prohibit the Communist Party, they want to change it. And there are some decisions which this clique will be trying to annul. In case Zelensky's team wins, I have the information that there might be such attempts, and that is why they look at the possibility to disseminate the Ukrainian parliament so there's no opposition against that, so there's no executive body which would allow that, or any legislative body to oppose that. But for those people, there are laws. We remember how they amended the constitution, how they voted for Kharkiv agreements. The 21st of April, that's an anniversary of Kharkiv agreement. And when we are talking about these things, we remember how they were voting for taking NATO away from our laws, how they voted for the law of Kivalov. I was at Mikhailovska Square, I was at Maidan, because there are risks, the risks that such key values which we gained in 5 years, they could be revised by the new team. And I'm sure that we Ukrainians will not allow this to happen on the 21st of April.
Before Mikhailo Zhernakov will pose his question, I would like to ask mine. Since we mentioned Mr. Portnov, Mr. Zhernakov, I would like to state that many people share his posts about concentration camps, many people share his posts about repressions against dumb people. What is your attitude towards this? What I observed in the stadium, I observed very nervous, hectic situation. Whether we can calm down the society. Yes, the society is in a very emotional situation. Those 5 years which passed since Maidan, these were very intensive years when we turned Ukraine to the Euro integration, when we defended the country, when we turned Ukraine to Ukrainian interests, and now when we feel this threat, one of the presidential candidates said that he can stand on knees in front of Putin. Many people feel anxious, feel anxiety, and people feel that and remember how in voluntary actions, in our democratic actions, we counteracted to unfair judges, and due to our intensive effort today, we can go to our purely Ukrainian church. Those people, as Portnov, Despite all the threats, I would answer to them, Ukrainians and Ukraine will win under whatever circumstances. Dear friends, we have to stick with our time limits. 1 minute for question, 2-3 minutes for the answer. Mikhailo Zhirnakov, then Vahtan Kibuladze. Thank you, Mr. Andriy. Several times today we mentioned the courts, the issue about the coalition is in the Kyiv Regional Court, which is famous in notorious decisions, and if it takes incorrect decision, then the High Commission of Judges will make again its decision whether the court decision will be right. Probably you know how much effort I personally contributed to the possibility that International Council of Experts would be present in the High Commission of Judges, and you know my opinion on this matter. Do you know what was the biggest problem with the judiciary reforms? The judges, they form a separate branch of power. You cannot just remove a judge. They immediately go to the European Court and make a claim, and then we have to restore them in a position. We remember how that decisions were made, and I can promise you that we will finish the judiciary reform completely. I have 2 questions to you. The first is as to the Speaker of Parliament, the second is one of the Maidan leaders. The first question, whether you see any political will in today's convocation of Verkhovna Rada about changing the rules for elections, about voting for the open party list. Then the second question, if after the elections you get an information that new president wants to go to Putin, and people start to crowd in the streets, so the next Maidan is preparing, what you would do in this case? We should not wait for this. We should not expect for this. The elections will be a year after tomorrow. One of my friends once stated, we are ready to go to Maidan again, and I asked him, how many your friends were killed both on Maidan and on the front line with Donbass? So we have to understand our responsibility for each voice delivered on April 21st. We have barricades in the east at the border with Russia, and here we should have a proper order, a proper commander-in-chief, a proper nation, and on the April 21st we will prove it. What about the electoral code? Then I need another minute. Okay, in the Verkhovna Rada, when there was first reading of the electoral code, I had to have 6 working group sessions to get 226 voices, because unfortunately many majority constituencies, MPs,
сподіваюся, що коли комітет прийме
And
рішення
I hope
і під тиском
that
громадськості і суспільства
when
ми
the
зможемо вийти хоча б на
committee
тих
will
самих
make
226
decisions
як в першому
and
читанні.
when
У мене є
we
лише
are
одне питання.
supported by broad public,
Ви казали,
we
що
will
в
be
четвер
able
будете
to reach
приймати закон про мову.
consensus and have
Давайте уявимо,
226
що фамілія
votes
наступного
for
призначення
the new
наступного президента
electoral
буде
code.
відрізнятися від прізвища
You
чинного
also
президента.
mentioned
І,
the
хто буде підписувати цей закон,
law
якщо
on
ЦВК на
languages
наступному тижні
and
скаже, що нас
let's
чекає інше прізвище
assume
президента.
that
Чинний президент,
next
чи
week
цей закон
the
буде
Central
чекати,
Election
доки
Commission
пройде
would
інаугурація?
announce that we have a new president and whether the old president has to sign or to wait till inauguration. I need to explain that the new president becomes a full-fledged president after inauguration. That's why on Monday, Thursday, next week, I will have all the consultations with all the faction leaders and we will make a decisive step, vote for the law, and President Poroshenko will sign this law irrespectively of the voting results. This law will be signed in any case in a language which will be passed by the parliament. We came to agreement with President Poroshenko about this. So all the defense laws, security laws, and the reform of the parliament will be signed by Poroshenko as the president.
Будь ласка. Так?
Ярослав
А потім
Юрчишин.
Ярослав
then
Тарас
Юрчишин, а потім
Тарас.
Тарас.
Доброго вечора.
Good evening.
В ЗМІ і фактично
In
кулуарно
mass media,
вже прозвучала інформація
there
про те,
was
що
information that Валерій Писаренко, the representative of one of the groups of MPs, stated that he's the representative of a new authorities, and after 21st of April, you will have to talk to them. Do you see any perspectives in the parliament to reformat the coalition with the new, so that it supports the new president? Valery Pisarenko was first in Tymoshenko's party, then in the party of regions. First of all, not after the 21st of April. After inauguration, we can talk about any changes. I'm sure that Ukrainians will make a right choice on the 21st of April. This Verkhovna Rada, despite all the criticism, has a very good, strong, pro-European, pro-Ukrainian majority. And the latest voting for the EU and NATO confirmed that. Only all the key issues of the development of Ukraine, EU and NATO, humanitarian policy, language, culture, on all issues that relate to Ukrainian church, in the parliament there will be pro-Ukrainian majority. Because in fact this ping-pong with the coalition, that is basically coalition is needed to appoint the candidates for the prime minister and the government. There will be the pro-Ukrainian coalition in the parliament and they will be passing decisions. Taras Shevchenko.
Хочу повернутися все-таки до питання
I'd like to go
коаліції,
back to the
бо
question
від
of
нього
coalition,
залежить
issue
право
of
розпуску,
coalition,
і це,
because
мені
of
здається,
that
тема
the
недорозкрита.
right
Що
of
я маю на увазі?
dissemination depends. What I
Конституція
mean,
говорить, що
Constitution
розпустити
says
можна не лише,
that you
якщо
can
коаліція не сформована,
disseminate
але якщо
not
вона
only if the
після
coalition is
завершення
not
не
formed,
сформувалась знову.
but if
Ви
it
сказали,
hasn't
що
been formed again
коаліція сама
after
має сказати, що вона
completion. The
розпустилась.
coalition
Але
itself has
коаліції
to
це
say
ніколи не
that
буде
they
вигідно. Тоді
disseminated
виходить, що ми
themselves.
їй доручаємо
Then
сказати, що її
basically
немає,
we
що вона ніколи не зробить.
believe that coalition
Чи
will
не
say
в
that
нас
they
зараз
don't exist and they
215
never
депутатів у
will do
Народному
it. We
фронті
have
і БПП.
215
Якщо би
MPs in the
дійсно є
Народний
список, не
фронт
було б
and
ні суддів,
BPP.
ні взагалі запитань. Чи не
Basically, there would be
краще
no
вам
questions in
оголосити про
different
те, що коаліції
cases?
немає,
It
і
is
включити
easier for
30
you
днів
to
на її формування,
announce
під
that
час
there's
якого
no
точно не
coalition,
можна розпускати парламент.
and
Бо питання
so that
розпуску
these
парламенту не
30
зняте.
days start during which you cannot disseminate the parliament. I respect your opinion, but I would like to remind that the coalition can include not only factions, but beyond the faction MPs, and there are
Я можу їх поіменно називати, але просто можу
those
втомитись.
MPs
Бо це, зрештою, не моє
who
повноваження.
there are more
Збирати і
than
координувати роботу
215
коаліції.
of
І
them.
повірте мені,
215 are only
що немає
those who
повноважень,
are
як говорив
from
президент,
the
визначати, існує коаліція в парламенті,
blocks,
чи не
but
існує. А
basically
для мене, як для голови
it's not
Верховної
within
Ради,
the
це
powers
одне
of the
ключове питання.
president to decide
працюючий
whether to
парламент.
find out
Я
whether there is
нагадаю вам,
coalition or
це
not.
було
But
не
for
так
me,
давно,
what is
коли по 8
important is
місяців
a
парламент був
working
заблокований,
parliament.
пригадуєте кульки
You
на тоні,
remember
коли бійки були кожного дня
when
в
they were
парламенті.
fighting every
3
day in
роки.
the parliament for 3 years.
Український парламент
For 80
працює
days the
ефективно і
parliament was
злагоджено.
blocked,
І
but
громадські активісти,
Ukrainian
які тут
parliament
є,
works
можуть говорити не з
sufficiently,
точки зору популізму,
and
а кожен по своїй сфері.
you can talk
Енергетики,
about
антикорупційної
different
діяльності,
things,
безпеки і
energy
оборони, і вони
sector,
підтвердять.
security,
Парламент
defense,
це і є головне
and
завдання
the
парламенту.
activists will confirm that the parliament is working.
нагадаю
That's
вам.
my main task.
5 секунд.
5
Після
seconds more.
28 травня
On the 28th of May, even if there are
нема
grounds.
права президента
But
на
the
указ про розпуск
president
парламенту.
doesn't have the
28
right
травня.
to
Запам'ятайте цю
issue
дату. І нема жодного
the
часу для того,
order to
такий указ
disseminate the
підписаний.
parliament.
Бо
There's
навіть
no
якби
time to sign
хтось
this
оголосив про
order.
розпуск коаліції
Even if
після того згідно
someone
Конституції,
announces
президент тільки
the
починає
dissemination of
консультації з
coalition,
головою
the
Верховної Ради
president
України
only then
із
starts the
фракціями. І для цього
consultations
немає,
with
наголошую ще
factions
раз,
and the
ні
Speaker of
часу,
the parliament.
ні будь-яких
For
підстав
that we don't
юридично-політичних.
have time or any legal grounds.
28 травня.
Інаугурація буде в термін,
Inauguration
чітко
will
передбачений
be
законом
according
України.
to the term
Це 10
provided
днів
for
для
by
підрахунок
the
ЦВК і 30 днів
law of
на
Ukraine.
інаугурацію.
30 days for the Central Election Committee to count the votes, 30 days after that for the inauguration.
Ми бачимо, що хочете поставити
To
питання. Перед
prepare
тим,
the
як ви поставите своє
inauguration.
питання, ми
Before you
дамо
ask your
буквально кілька
question, we'll
хвилин
give few minutes
нашим прекрасним
to
Олені
our
Шкарпові і Максиму
wonderful
Скубенко,
Olena
які
Shkarpova and
перевіряють
Maxim
факти,
Skubenko
це
who are
VoxCheck, і вони
checking the
розкажуть,
facts.
що
They are
вони
from
почули,
VoxCheck,
власне, в
and
заявах
they will tell
сьогоднішніх
what
на
they have
стадіонах.
heard in
Правдиво чи
statements
неправдиво? Будь
made at the stadium. What was true or
Хочу сказати,
not
що
true.
зараз з
I
нами
would like to
працює
say
велика
that we have
команда
a big
VoxCheckerів,
team working
аналітиків
with us,
і нашої редакційної колеги.
the
Тобто ми тут
analysts,
не
the
самі,
editors.
за
We are
нами,
not
за нашими
alone.
плечима
Behind
багато
us,
людей.
there are many people.
Було дуже несподівано, що
It was quite
Зеленський наговорив
unexpected
багато фактів,
that
ми навіть не встигли все
Zelensky
перевірити,
was
і,
giving so many
скажу чесно,
facts.
за
We
всі ці
didn't have time to check
3
everything
місяці, коли ми
within 3 or 4
спостерігали за ним,
months when we
ми
were
за весь
following
цей
him.
час перевірили
During all
близько
this time, we
12
checked
його
about
висловлювань.
12 or
Тобто він
13 of
цього разу
his
говорив
statements.
багато
This
фактів.
time he gave many
І я
facts.
розкажу про такі,
I will tell
наприклад,
you about
він сказав,
such.
чому Гонтарева
He said
ховається
why
в Лондоні.
Gontareva is hiding in London.
Я
He
знаю, що
asked
вона
why Gontareva
нещодавно
is hiding in
виступала в Київській
London. I
школі
know that
економіки,
very
читала там
recently
лекцію,
she
її можна було
lectured at
побачити,
the
мої
Kyiv
колеги
School of
ходили на
Economics.
цю
My
лекцію.
colleagues read this
Тобто
lecture.
вона не ховається.
She's
Крім
not
того,
hiding.
вона зараз працює в
Besides,
Лондонській
she's working
школі
in London
економіки,
School of
і
Economics,
вона консультує
and she
іноземні
consults
уряди
foreign
і центральні
governments
банки
and
за
central
кордоном.
banks
Ну
abroad.
і крім того, вона буде на конференції
Besides, she
Нацбанку.
will be at the
Це
conference of the
можна
National
перевірити.
Bank. You can check it.
Крім того, Зеленський
Besides,
сказав,
Zelensky
що
said
перший
that
Порошенко, тобто перший Петро Порошенко каже,
First,
передав
Petro
бізнесу
Poroshenko
сліпий
says,
траст,
I gave my
другий
business
Порошенко
to
збільшує
blind
свої
trust,
статки
and the
за
second
рік у 82
Poroshenko
рази.
increased
Це
his
трохи
assets
маніпулятивно,
82
тому що
times.
йдеться
That's
просто про
manipulation
дивіденди
because
від
it's just
компанії
about
Rothschild
dividends
Trust
from
Schweiz, до якої
the company
був
Rothschild
переданий,
Trust Schweiz, to
компанія
which Roshan was
насправді Зеленський не
transferred.
каже, що з
And
15-го
Zelensky
року
doesn't
статки
say
Порошенка
that
дуже
from
сильно
2015 the
знизилися.
assets of
Я
Poroshenko
вилетів
went
з
down, and
Ну,
he's
і
now
крім
not
того,
in
я була дуже
Forbes
обурена
rating.
тим, що,
And I was
Зеленський сказав, що
infuriated
ліків
when
немає
Zelensky
доступних,
said that there are
немає
no
якісних ліків. Це
high
абсолютно
quality
неправда,
medicines.
і
That is
зараз просто
absolute not
безпрецедентна
true.
програма
And now
«Доступні
there's
ліки»
a
втілюється.
program, affordable medicines, which is being implemented. Two more things about Zelensky. He accused Poroshenko that the law on illegal getting enrichment was cancelled. It wasn't the president who cancelled it. It was done by the Constitutional Court. And the second one about two Poroshenkos. One said the dollar will be at 10 hryvnias, and the second made dollar at 30. But there are objective reasons: loss of Crimea, loss of Donbass, the world prices for steel and grain.
Заява Порошенка.
Are
У
the
нас є 2
reasons.
хвилини до
Є що
кінця.
розкритикувати з того, що
Can you
сказав Петро
criticize
Порошенко?
anything of what Poroshenko said? He didn't give many facts. One thing we found, he said that there were no golden reserves when we came, there were 17 billion, and someone later there were about 5-6,
Спасибі. Вокс-чекери,
and then they
якщо можна,
started
Гліб,
to
30
getting
секунд
to
на
increase
запитання,
them.
30
30
секунд на
seconds
відповідь, тому що
for
ми мусимо чітко
question,
вийти з
30
ефіру. Будь ласка.
seconds for answer. This year is very complicated because we have to pay a lot as the foreign debt. Do you see a majority in the Verkhovna Rada which is ready to decide on illegal enrichment? And do you believe that this Verkhovna Rada will pass a budget for 2020?
Але я
Yes,
планую
the
через тиждень
situation is
пленарний
difficult,
поставити
but in a
його і
week
буду пробувати знайти під
I
нього
will try
більшість,
to
як по
find a
інших законах,
majority for
необхідних для
that,
МВФ.
just
Але скажу
like
все-таки,
for other laws
бо дуже
needed
важливі
for
факти
IMF.
прозвучали. Бо
Important
Зеленського
facts
насправді, на жаль,
were
прозвучало
mentioned.
дуже
Zelensky
багато
unfortunately
російських фейків.
said
Але найбільше,
many,
що мене вразило
repeated
особисто,
many Russian
коли він
facts,
говорив
but
про
what impressed me when
послухайте,
he was
повстанців
talking
ЛНР, ДНР.
about
Чисто російська пропагандивна
Food
назва
packages.
терористів і вбивць наших
these were
братів
terrorists
і
and
наших друзів на
murderers of
Сході.
our
Повстанці ДНР,
friends.
ЛНР. Це дуже погані симптоми. Не дай Боже,
These
щоб
are
така людина стала
bad
головнокомандуючим нашої країни.
symptoms.
Дякую, пане
God save
Андрію.
us from
Це,
such commander-in-chief.
Спікер Верховної Ради
The
Андрій Парубій
Speaker of
сьогодні
the Verkhovna
завітав до нас
Rada, Andriy
в студію.
Parubey,
Дякуємо, що знайшли
was here
час.
with us.
Друзі, за
Thank you for
законом,
finding
офіційні
time
дебати,
according to the
вони,
law. Official
за 20
debates,
хвилин до їх початку ми не можемо
20
казати
minutes
взагалі
before
нічого
they
про
start,
політику.
we cannot talk
І
about
що це
politics.
означає? Що
What it
зараз ми
means
будемо
that
вам
now
розповідати. Ну, про що
we
саме
will
може
tell
розповідати
you about
зворотній
what,
відлік? Звичайно,
what
про
can
зворотній відлік. Зараз
the countdown
фільм про нас, а
tell
потім
you
за
about.
20
There
хвилин
will be a
зустрічайте
film
в цій
about us,
студії
and in 20
офіційні
minutes
дебати кандидатів
there will be
президента, які
official
передбачені
debates of the
законом.
candidates
Залишайтеся
according
з
to
нами.
the law. Stay with us. Thank you.